person. Her parents had never seen the little person before and didn't know if she'd live a normal life. But Becky has. She played sports, attended Providence College, majored in marketing, and she has worked for a major talent agency in Los Angeles. Becky went to Los Angeles because she wanted to change the way media views people with disabilities. Becky was brought here today by Understanding Our Differences, the organization that teaches us that we're all the same inside. So let's give a warm welcome to Becky Curran.
Thank you, everyone, for having me here today. I wanted to ask the question, have any of you ever met a little person before? Wow. And then have any of you seen a little person besides meeting them? This is great. The numbers are definitely increasing, but the population of little people in the United States is only 30,000. So that's like going to a big university and having everyone in one place, and then you wouldn't see another little person anywhere else in the country. So most little people are spread out all over the country, but in your average day-to-day life, you won't come across one. So what I'm passionate about is I'm passionate about changing perceptions by me being myself and proving to you guys that I'm no different than any of you, and I'm no less capable of going after my dreams than any of you. I wanted to start off by sharing a little bit about growing up. I grew up to an average height family, meaning that my parents are over 4'10", which is the tallest height of a little person. And 80% of little people are born to average height parents. So it could happen to any of your families. Your parents could have had a little person. The chances are smaller, but they still could have had a little person. And what I like to prove to people is that even though I look different, and even though I came out different, I can still lead a normal life. I grew up just like all of you, going to school, starting at preschool, going to elementary school, then middle school and high school, and then college. And then I went and moved out to California to work in the entertainment industry, trying to change perceptions of people with physical differences. And I met a lot of cool people along the way, which I will talk about later. But I also had some medical complications that related to growing up with a physical difference. And they touched upon a bunch of complications that can happen in the presentation. But when I was first born, I was born with bowed legs, meaning that my legs went out and were curved, and it made it a little harder to walk. I had more of a waddle than I do now. So I had bone, when I was 3, taken out of both of my legs, and then when I was 13, I was in 7th grade, and I had bone that was taken out of my pelvis, which is this area, and then I had to put back in the side of my legs when I was done growing. A lot of people ask when I was done growing, and it's about the same age as everyone else, but I just didn't grow as fast as everyone else. So it was about 15 when I stopped growing, and then when I was 15, I actually had a spinal cord complication, which was also talked about in the presentation, where the bone around my spinal cord was pinching the spinal cord. So that was affecting how I was walking, and I kept falling and lost feeling in my legs, and it made it hard to continue to lead the normal life that I was used to living. So I ended up having surgery, which was very risky because the bone could have been touching the spinal cord even more, and there could have been an injury with the spinal cord during the procedure since it was so intense. But luckily, the surgery went well, and I was able to continue to lead a normal life after that. But I also want to express that even if that surgery didn't go as well as planned, and I had to be in a wheelchair or in another physical situation, I would still find a way to adapt. And what the message is for all of you is when you see someone who looks different and is in a different physical state than you are, most likely they just want to lead a normal life just like you. And because of their circumstances, they've learned and found ways to adapt to the different situations. So the best thing for all of you when you come across other little people or other people with any type of physical difference is to just treat them how you want to be treated. And growing up, a lot of people ask if I was bullied in middle school or elementary school. And I'm very fortunate that I had a very close-knit group of friends who really helped me out and made sure that I was protected and didn't get bullied. And a lot of people wonder, okay, then what's the story there? How can you teach and talk about bullying? But the best lesson can be is for you guys to protect your friends or someone that you see is being bullied and prevent them from getting teased by other people. Because we all want to be treated the same and given the same chances. I grew up active in sports. I played soccer from a young age all the way until high school. I was on the swim team. I participated along my friends who were average height, just like all of you. And it took a little bit longer, but I still wanted to make sure that I finished and did as much as they did, because just because I'm shorter and I'm different, I didn't want to be given a break. I've always been used to working a lot harder than the person next to me, and I'm okay with that. It's just making sure that the person who's watching me is willing to give me a chance. I also grew up active in sailing, and then I was skiing a lot in high school as well. I was on the high school sailing and swimming team, and then I was on the sailing team in college. In college, I was fortunate enough to have 2 other little people who were at my school, which was a great way to adapt because people had already seen a little person before. When I go out in public and meet different people, some people who have met a little person before know that we're no different. And that's what I like to encourage all of you to know, that if you see another little person going forward, you're going to treat them just like you would treat one of your friends. When I moved out to California to work in the entertainment industry, one of the reasons I moved out there was because I was part of an organization called Little People of America. And we have annual conferences every year where we meet for a week and we have a lot of workshops educating people, especially parents of average height, that they're going to get through the situation, and there's going to be doctors who tell you that your kids are going to be okay. So there are a lot of great workshops that go on, but it's also a chance for me to meet and hang out with people from around the country who go through the same obstacles that I go through in everyday life. So a lot of my friends that I've had met over the years, I actually didn't get involved in the organization as an active member until I was in college, because I was so used to having so many friends just that I grew up with, and I was used to being the only different person, so I didn't have a problem with it because I just felt like a part of the group. As I got a little bit older and my friends started going separate ways and we all went off to colleges in different directions, I ended up joining the organization because they were having a conference in Boston that year, and it was a way just to see what it was like. So over the years, I met a lot of people within the organization who I get to see at least once a year now. It's a little tough because they're all over the country, but it's fun to have people that you can relate to. But even over the years when I've met and talked to these people who go through similar situations in everyday life, I've also learned that we may not all have everything in common. Just like all of you, you have your friends for different reasons and you have different things in common with different people. It doesn't mean that you should treat anyone differently because of that, but you may learn over the years, you just grow apart from people and you're happy and fortunate that they were a part of your life when they were. When I moved out to California, I stayed very active in seeing friends who have gone through similar life situations. A lot of little people tend to be involved in the entertainment industry where they will stand in for kids on TV shows because they're the same height as a kid who would be on a TV show. So standing in means when they're setting up the lights to film, they have someone who's my height stand and until they're ready to film, and then that person will leave the set and someone else will come in and film. So a lot of people are involved in the industry that way, but I was passionate about being involved where I was behind the scenes. I worked at a talent agency where they say it's the grad school of the entertainment industry, where you can learn how everything works, how movies are made, how sports deals get made, and how music gets booked. And they said, you need to learn that before you can learn anything about entertainment. So I learned how the industry worked, and then I became really active in a community of people with all types of disabilities. As I was saying earlier, since there are so few little people in the United States, I needed to focus on something even bigger. And I realized that just like this unit, people with physical disabilities, we all have a lot in common, because people, when they see us, automatically react and assume that something's wrong when they just need to ask questions and give us a chance. So I became a part of that community, and I was part of trying to talk to casting directors and writers and producers to tell them that if they were going to use someone in a wheelchair or someone who was a little person in a TV show or movie, they needed to be smart about the way that they presented it, because the media reaches millions of people, and if someone sees a little person in the media before they see one in person, they automatically assume that we're all like that. A lot of people think that I've been on a lot of the different shows that are out these days, but I haven't, and it comes down to people needing to give people a chance and getting to know them and realize that we're all different and we're all unique in our own ways. Another great thing that I did was got involved in pitch lunches, where I would pitch potential project ideas. A lot of movies and TV shows come from just a one-line topic. So there may be a topic about a story about a baseball player who overcomes obstacles and gets his first home run, or any type of topic revolves around just a one-line idea. So I was pitching ideas to people like Tobey Maguire, who's in Spider-Man, and Zac Efron, and Jim Carrey, and all these different people. And what I learned about them is they also have something similar to people with physical differences, because so many people are after them because of their fame and that they're famous, and people forget that they're real people and they deserve to be treated just like everyone else. So what I really just want to teach everyone is that no matter how someone looks, I'm sure they're always going to be more than happy to talk to you if you approach them. A lot of people are afraid to approach people, and people are afraid to open up about something that they're going through. And I think you get a lot more out of life. I grew up and I couldn't hide my difference. So even if you guys all have internal differences of some sort, if you feel comfortable enough to talk to someone about it, it lifts a weight off your shoulders, but then it also helps them feel comfortable that you're comfortable to talk to them about whatever you may be going through. I volunteered at a heart camp, a camp for kids with heart conditions. And at that camp, a lot of the kids have conditions that you can't see, but they can't go to a regular camp that everyone else goes to because there are so many medical risks that can happen while they're doing a lot of physical activity. And some of the kids were afraid to open up about what they were going through. And even outside of camp, they're afraid to talk to people about what they're going through because they just don't know how people will react. And the people who ran the camp were really appreciative that I was involved and able to share my story and show that I can't hide my difference, because the world would be a much better place if everyone just shared what made them unique. And one thing that we wanted to just talk about, because a lot of people tend to ask this question, what's the right term to call me? I am a little person or a dwarf. There's a word, the word midget is probably the most offensive word you could call a little person, so I would avoid using that word, but it's good to address it because it's easier for people to know that than not know it. And I am working on a book that I want to call it Just Call Me Becky, because a lot of people focus so much on someone's label where they need to just understand that that's a human being and they should be called by their name. I want to open it up to any questions you all may have. I want you to know that no question to me is offensive, so I want you to feel free to ask anything that sparks your curiosity.
After you finished your book, can you give us?
Of course.
She might have repeating the questions.
Oh, sorry. She asked after I finished my book, can I give it to you guys? And I said, of course.
Oh, great. We'll bring it back.
I love that. One of you can go on the next.
When did you start to get
When did I start to get bullied? I had a harder time in high school when my friends started going off in different directions. So surprisingly, it happened later for me. There were a few times where there were some basketball players in the school, and I got teased by them because there was a large difference in height, and I don't think they knew how to treat me just as anyone else. But I was lucky to have a great group of friends, so I never had a really bad experience. And I encourage all of you to encourage anyone who you see maybe going into a bad situation to protect them from it, because there's no reason for it.
I'm sorry, you got to speak up a little slower and a little louder, please.
When you went somewhere, they didn't look at you, just stare at me from a distance.
Do people stare at you?
Yes, so she asked if people stare at me, and they definitely do. A lot of people wonder, especially parents are sometimes unsure what to do, and they want to know, should I protect my child from asking or insulting, or should I encourage them to go up and ask a question? So I have a lot of people who stare, but my favorite situation is when someone comes up and asks a question because they're put at ease and they realize that I'm not some scary monster and I'm a real person. But there are people who stare, and there are times where I choose not to react because I don't know what they'll get out of it, but if there are times where I feel I can educate someone, I will. Yes? She asked if I have any really good talents that most people don't ever have. All right, I'm going to try it. So I'm double jointed in my hips or legs?
Hips.
Hips. I'm double jointed in my hips, so I can stand up without using my hands.
No way. Woo!
Yes.
Okay. When you were on the swim team, were you usually the last person, or were you?
She asked what happened when I was on the swim team. I was always the last person, but I still wanted to finish the race because I felt like as long as I was doing what everyone else was doing, I was still being a part of the team.
Yeah, you guys might have seen in the Boston Marathon.
Yes.
There's a couple of
There were little people
married
who
husband
ran
and
the
wife,
Boston Marathon.
and they did all 26 miles.
It was crazy. You wanna go?
When you were on the swim team, what was your time?
When I was on the swim team, my time was probably, I think it was for 50 yards, like a minute and a half.
I think we all have something that we would like to do but can't. Is there anything you would like to do but can't because of your height?
She asked what would I like to do because of my height. Well, if it comes into or what I would like to do that I can't do because of my height. But when it comes to day-to-day, I would love to be able to reach the sink in every bathroom to wash my hands because it's tough when you have dirty hands, especially before a meal. And if it's in real life, just aspirations. I think there are people who put limitations on me before getting to know me. So no matter what type of career it may be, even when I was working in the entertainment industry, I spent as much time as I could tolerate in it. And it would be ideal if I were to have made it to more of an executive type role. But there were a lot of people who put limitations on me because of my physical difference. So I think just in any situation, there's nothing that I can't do, but it's the other people who put limitations. So that's why I'm focusing on going out and being myself and teaching people that I'm no different and hoping that that helps out the next generation of people. She asked if when I was born, was I the same size as someone who's not a little person? I was. My head was a little bit bigger because I am known to have extra fluid in my head, and hopefully that means extra brains. But I was the same size, and it was actually the nurse who had dealt with delivering a little person before who knew that I was a little person. But some little people are not diagnosed until a few months later because people don't see them as any different because they come out looking very similar to your average newborn.
Are you able to drive?
Oh, okay. Yes, that's a great question. He asked if I'm able to drive. I actually brought extensions that I have. So, with a car, I can sit in the chair of the car just like anyone else when I'm sitting on the chair. When I sit down, you and I are the same height sitting down. So my torso is the same height as everyone else's. But my arms and legs are obviously a lot shorter. So what they do is there's a hook behind each of the pedal. So this is the brake pedal, and this is the gas pedal. And we put this bar into the hook that's attached to the pedal, and that allows me to be able to push on the pedal, just like I'm driving a car like anyone else. So there's just these pedals on top of the other pedals, and that allows me to drive. Yeah.
Also when driving, is it hard to see like what's in front of you and behind you like when you're backing out?
So she asked if it's hard to see what's in front of me and behind me when I'm backing up. It actually isn't because I'm the same height sitting down, but for some people it is because their torsos are a different height, so they have to find a way to make the seat adjustable. But I'm able to see both ways. I just have to pay extra attention.
They also make for cars or vans that you can have hand controls. So
Yes.
some people may use pedals like that, but other people might use their hands. So there's a bar attached to the gas pedal and the brake that you can press for the brake or move down and use your hands for hand controls.
Yes.
How tall are you?
So I am 4 feet, 1/4 of an inch, but I like to round to 4'1". Don't tell anyone.
Do you know how tall you were when you were in like elementary school, middle school, and high school?
A different height each place, probably.
Yeah, but
I was probably the same height as my average height friends until about kindergarten, and then they started growing a lot faster than me. I still was growing, but when I came to 4 feet, it was probably in high school. So it was just a shorter, a slower growing pattern and curve.
How are we doing time-wise? Do you need to take a couple
I'll
more?
take a few over there. Yes.
Have you ever pitched any successful movie suggestions to someone?
Great question. Have you ever
piece of the idea of the pitch, but they wouldn't necessarily give us credit for giving us that idea. So, okay. Yes, yes.
Where did you go to high school and college? How did you think of the organization?
Where did I go to
High school and college.
And then
What did you think of the organizations there?
the organizations there? So I went to high school in Weymouth, Massachusetts. That's about 45 minutes traffic south of here. And I went to college in Providence, Rhode Island, at Providence College. In high school, I was involved in student government, like the student council where you make decisions and plan activities. I was also involved in the speech and debate team, so I would go around to schools and compete in speaking. The topic I focused on was children's books, so I had to read a children's book in front of an audience of judges, and I would have to read it looking like upside, where the book was upside down, like you're reading a book looking down on it. So it was fun. It was a great practice into my speaking. And in college, I was also involved in a speaking organization called Toastmasters, where people practice speaking, and there are different levels where you can compete. I did 10 speeches that allowed me to get certification. And what I loved about Toastmasters is that it brings a lot of people together who may be afraid to speak, because a lot of people are afraid to speak in public, but it helps people overcome their fears. There's some, yeah.
Did you win any of the speaking competitions, like with the books?
Yes, if I won any of the speaking competitions. I won the certification for the first 10 speeches. So I got an award for that. There wasn't necessarily like a first, second, third award, but I got certification.
One more? Did you
She has a couple more
Oh, I'm
minutes.
sorry.
Yes. The green sweater.
Get us to the car and get us there.
What was my
favorite children's book?
Oh, my favorite children's book that I read was The Little Engine That Could. I think I can.
It's already plugged in.
And then the green sweater behind you. I think she wants. Do you want to ask a question? Yes.
Do you have any siblings that also?
Yes, I have one sister, and she's actually average height. So she's 5'4", and she's a 6th grade creative writing teacher. Over there. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great question. She asked, if I have children, do they have more of a chance of having dwarfism? So what happens is if, I'm going to use the example, if I were with another little person that were my type of dwarf. There are 200 different types of dwarfs, but I'm the most common type. So if I was with that person, we would have a 50% chance that the little person would be the same type as us. There would be a 25% chance where it could be an average height person, just like any of you. And then there would be a 25% chance where there are 2 dominant genes that we're both carrying, where the baby probably wouldn't make it past the first day. Some people choose to carry the baby the whole way because there are chances that it could be misdiagnosed, and they want to give it a chance just in case. Yes?
I was wondering for, I'm not sure about this, not positive, but like, would you be able to have a child?
Yes. She asked if I'd be able to have a child, and I definitely would be able to. I actually just talked to a nurse a while back, and she said that my pregnancy wouldn't be any different from anyone else's, just the complications of the possibility of it being double dominant. Then you may be carrying extra fluid, and it may put a little pressure on your back. But other than that, they say it wouldn't be any different than anyone else. What? There are 200 different types, but the most common are achondroplastic, which is my type, and chondroplastic. Then there's diastrophic. And then there's also primordial, which is a type where people are very, very small, and they end up not living past 15 because they're so small and their bodies just can't keep up with their age. So a lot of those people come to the conventions as well, and they're very happy, excited people, and it's just sad they can't live the full life.
Where do you buy your clothes?
She asked where I buy my clothes. The best thing that ever happened was when a lot of clothing stores came out with 3/4 length shirts. So like this jacket I'm wearing right now, I don't have to shorten it. It's just the right height. I have to worry about my pants. A lot of times, pants all come a lot longer. But I've had the best luck with dresses. So the stores that I usually go to are H&M, Francesca for dresses, and Taylor Loft. So where anyone else goes, I try to focus on the petite sections because that helps. I don't have broad shoulders, so it's hard to get some shirts to work.
Did you ever believe when the basketball players at your school used to tease you, did you ever believe that you couldn't do something, or did you just do it?
He asked if I ever believed that I couldn't do something when the basketball players were teasing me. I didn't let it affect what I could do and what I was capable of. I was just a little sad that they had to be so ignorant and